Welcome to the first round of Top Cut here at the Seattle Regional Championships 2016. I'm one of your commentators for the day, Gabby Snyder, and I am here with my good friend,
Mark Hansen. Hey, how's it
Yes.
going?
So
AKA
yeah,
Crawdon.
we are going straight into our first game. It is Conan versus Hongyu, 5-point-star online. It looks like Conan is running a Cresselia, Kangaskhan, a Salamence, Groudon, Smeargle, and Xerneas team. As for Hongyu's team, I'm not quite sure what he's running because we do not have the bottom screen visible right now.
We've got an interesting team, though. I know it has a Manectric on it, a Pokemon that we saw win one of the European regionals alongside Eviltal. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. And I'm interested in Conan's team here. I know Conan has played in the past a similar team with Amoonguss over the Smeargle slot, so the choice to use Smeargle, I know Conan's a big advocate of the Dark Void ban, I suppose. So it's interesting to see him concede there and run Smeargle today, and it's done well for him so far. So we'll see how this match goes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I missed a lot of the battles yesterday, so I'm sure you're more familiar with the players' strategies at this point.
Neither of these players were streamed. I haven't seen any of their games. This is going to be as exciting for us as it is for them.
Great. Well, it looks like we've hit time here, so hopefully the match should get started soon. You mentioned that Conan's kind of an advocate of that Dark Void ban. Do you think he brought Smeargle to Game 1?
It's possible that he's making a statement.
All right.
And we'll see how that works out for him.
We'll see right now. Game 1 of Conan versus Hongyu is starting. We're going to see both trainers reveal their leads momentarily. It looks like we're going to see a Crobat and a Thundurus lead from Hongyu. And on Conan's side of the field, we're going to see a Cresselia and Salamence lead. Kind of an interesting matchup here because, just off the top of my head, it almost looks like Conan has the advantage here.
Yeah, I think that Hongyu was maybe pressured into this lead. Oh, that is right. Hongyu is running a Rayquaza Kyogre team with Manectric as one of the Mega Evolutions, Crobat, Thundurus. I can't remember 6 Pokemon at this moment in time, but I think that one of the best Pokemon he has to deal with Xerneas is that Crobat. And Thunder is also a fantastic Pokemon to deal with Xerneas, using both Taunt and Thunder Wave. So I think he was kind of pressured into leading these two Pokemon because of the Xerneas on the opposing team. And Conan's met that with Salamence, which isn't going to deal super effective damage to Thundurus. It is going to switch out.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to save that Intimidate for later. In its place, we are going to see Groudon come out onto the field. A very advantageous switch here. If if Hongyu went for a Thunder Wave or a Thunderbolt into that slot, it will no longer be effective thanks to Groudon's ground type typing.
Yeah, I bet that Cresselia is a Mental Herb Cresselia, which is why Conan's so comfortable with this play.
Also,
if Hongyu double taunts here, then that will be a fantastic read. But,
It looks like Hongyu went for the Tailwind and Taunt into Cresselia. No, we did not see the Mental Herb activate. Instead, we're going to see an Icy Wind from Conan's side of the field, lowering both Crobats and Thundurus speed by 1 stage.
Yeah.
So, smart play, I think, on Conan's part. He definitely either read the taunt or just figured he'd go for it anyways and hope for the best.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Icy Wind on Cresselia. A lot of Cresselia running Trick Room in this format as their form of speed control, but Icy Wind, obviously a very powerful form of speed control itself. Yeah. Hongyu got a Tailwind up, though, so he's still at the advantage in terms of speed. Regardless, he's got 2 very fast Pokemon, so it's not as relevant right now, but maybe in the next few turns, we're going to see Pokemon switch in and take advantage of that Tailwind.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Icy Wind Cresselia did just win the UK Nationals this morning, so
yes.
It could have been a really good read on the metagame on Conan's part, because we've already seen clearly it does really well at tournaments right now. Yeah, anyways, we're going to see Thundurus switch out this turn, and in its place, Kyogre is going to come out onto the field, setting up Rain, getting rid of Groudon's Sun, meaning any fire attacks that Conan were to have used this turn will no longer be effective.
Yeah, and considering that there was a Thundurus and a Crobat on the field, I would be surprised if Conan used something like Precipice Blades, so maybe a Rock move. There are popular choices in Rock Slide and Rock Tomb and even Stone Edge potentially, but instead we see Conan switch out.
Yeah, it looks like he called that Kyogre switch in. We're going to see the Salamence come back in again. Intimidate's not really going to help him out much right here because both Kyogre's a special Pokemon. Crobat Super Fang will do about 50% of damage regardless of its attack stat.
And we see Cresselia's got the Citrus Berry.
Yeah, that's really good information for Hongyu going into Game 2. Psychic from the Cresselia will connect with that Crobat. It's going to do Enough damage to knock it out. That seems like it was a really powerful Psychic.
That was. I wonder if we could have taken that from the Icy Wind damage. But one thing that's interesting here, so Hongyu used Tailwind turn 1. He brought Kyogre in turn 2, and he was set to have a free Water Spout this turn. But Conan read that very well. Switched out the Groudon. Hongyu now has to worry. Oh, Hongyu now has to worry about Groudon switching in, except for that Rayquaza he's just brought in for himself. One of the powerful parts of Kyogre is that you have this control. So now Hongyu's free to Water Spout under Tailwind. He knew he wouldn't take that much damage from Cresselia. So this is a great position for Hongyu.
This is a really great position. Very smart to send in that Rayquaza this turn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wonder if you're Conan, how do you respond to this?
You certainly can't switch in Groudon. You potentially have either Xerneas or Kangaskhan in back. I would imagine Xerneas, obviously, considering Salamence is on the field. If you have Xerneas, you still don't want to switch it into a Water Spout. Nothing's going to take this very well. Salamence is probably the best Pokemon. Salamence and Cresselia are probably the best Pokemon to take this. So they're probably going to stick in. But Salamence has to watch out for an Ice Beam, potentially.
Yeah, Salamence does. We are going to see that Salamence Mega Evolve this turn. Possibly hoping for the attack boost to help, maybe mitigate some of that Water Spout damage. A Dragon Ascent from the Rayquaza will connect with the Cresselia. It's going to do maybe about 40% damage. So, unfortunately the Rayquaza's defenses are dropped. We're going to see the Water Spout from that Kyogre will be enough to pick up the KO on Cresselia. Does about 50% to that Salamence. And now Salamence is free to pretty much attack either Pokemon, but instead Conan sets up his own Tailwind.
That was a fantastic play by Conan. I was curious. I don't know the items on these Pokemon. Rayquaza with a Focus Sash has picked up popularity, so I think Hongyu was comfortable potentially having Rayquaza take a hit there. But instead, Conan establishing speed control, reshifting the momentum back into his favor, and now both players have Tailwind, but Hongyu's will be running out soon.
I believe it'll be running out this turn, actually.
Yeah, and as a result of Rayquaza not Mega Evolving there, it is not faster than Xerneas this turn. It wouldn't have been faster than Mega Salamence anyways. So Hongyu has to contend with two Pokemon that are faster than his Rayquaza, potentially being able to knock it out, and at the same time try and keep Kyogre healthy. It'll be an interesting turn to play out.
Yeah, that's one of the downsides of using Water Spout as your primary form of damage. I think Kyogre players have to, make this decision. Do they want to deal with the accuracy problems from Origin Pulse, or do they want to run Water Spout knowing that it will always connect, but as soon as their Kyogre's HP is, cut in half, its power is cut in half as well.
Yeah.
We're going to see Rayquaza switch out this turn. Thundurus comes in instead. Salamence is able to do a little bit of damage to both Thundurus and Kyogre, who retaliates with an Ice Beam. That's easily going to be able to knock that Salamence out. However, that Xerneas to Geomancy.
Not only that, but we also just saw Kyogre outspeed the Xerneas.
Yeah, that too.
That means that Xerneas is likely not a timid Xerneas. Probably one of the more powerful Xerneas, so this Geomancy is going to be doing more damage than a lot of people are accustomed to seeing. Thundurus was a great switch in there because that's one of the ways that Hongyu was going to be able to respond to this Geomancy that he admittedly wasn't going to be able to stop.
Especially now that, Tailwind is only up on Conan's side of the field, too. Xerneas is probably the fastest thing out there. He's really going to need that Thunder Wave from the Thundurus to help out with that. In for the Salamence, we're going to see Conan send out his Groudon, reestablishing the Sun, kind of forcing Conan to either switch in the Rayquaza or switch out the Kyogre if he wants to get his weather back.
Yeah, it's a rough play for Hongyu here. Xerneas has the Geomancy boost. If Hongyu switches out Kyogre, he's guaranteed to win the Weather War, but Weather War is not as important as the actual outcome of the battle. He can't really not attack. He can't afford to not attack when he really needs to. Maybe Xerneas protects here to dodge a Thunder Wave, and that does give him the chance to switch Kyogre out, but it depends how Conan reads the situation. We also potentially can see things like Hidden Power Water on Thundurus, which would allow a Rayquaza switch-in to be met with a Hidden Power Water if Hongyu predicts that Xerneas protect, but we don't see that.
Yeah, we don't see that. Instead, we're going to see the Thunder Wave going into the Xerneas, and following that, we get the Foley Paralysis on the Xerneas turn 1. And Groudon, going for the Eruption. Not going to do a lot of damage to that Kyogre, but could potentially knock out the Thundurus here.
Yeah, we do see that Thundurus get knocked out.
Got the crit on Kyogre too, so, you take those extra points when you need them. And we're going to see Kyogre finish up this turn with an Ice Beam into the Groudon slot. So that fully paralysis that turn was huge.
That was very big. Xerneas is not a Pokemon that once you've set up that Geomancy, you are supposed to spend the next few turns just destroying everything in your path. If you get a fully paralyzed on the very first turn, you lose all of that potential benefit. What's interesting there too, we just saw Conan also use Eruption.
Yeah, we did.
So this Groudon, I saw Conan use a special Groudon in previous tournaments. It seems like he's stuck with that for this team. Special Groudon, a Pokemon I'm a huge fan of. Depending on the archetype, physical Groudon sometimes a bit more useful. We see but at this very moment we see Kyogre and Rayquaza in here. Rayquaza with his airlock going to nullify the sun, and
Actually,
now it's going to Mega Evolve.
Yeah, so Hongyu just wants the sun gone. He goes ahead and Mega Evolves his Rayquaza, possibly also looking for the damage boost that he gets with Mega Rayquaza's attack stat. Following that, Groudon goes for the Protect, does not want to deal with a potential Scald or Water Spout from that Kyogre. Rayquaza also protects. So if Conan went for the attack on Kyogre here, never mind, that doesn't matter. We're going to see 3 Protects this turn. Poor Xerneas is fully paralyzed, so...
Technically, Xerneas could have also been protecting there.
That's very true,
Hongyu
actually.
very wisely stalling out the Tailwind that turn. Something that not everyone... Yeah, something that was a really great play. You just keep track of those Tailwind turns. Now, as a result of that, Hongyu's in a great position to deal with this Groudon on his own terms.
We're going to see Groudon go for the double Protect. Rayquaza using Dragon Ascent. I would assume he's attacking the Xerneas here, but we will see shortly. Alright, there's the Xerneas. It's going to do about 50% damage. Still haven't seen the item on that Rayquaza, so if it's Sash, that could be huge. Scald will pick up the KO on Groudon, and let's see if Xerneas attacks this turn.
Yeah, what's interesting there is that I don't think we have any indication of who's faster, Kyogre or Groudon, and we'll see this item on Rayquaza. It is the Focus Sash, so Hongyu has played to his win condition here. He's faster than Xerneas. He's already dealt over 50% damage with that Dragon Ascent. He knows he can finish the Xerneas off next turn.
Yeah, so that would be game 1. It's interesting. It felt like for the longest time Conan was in lead. However, that paralysis on the Xerneas really switched this game around.
Yeah, and I mean, Thundurus is a Pokemon that completely turns games around, but ever since the 2016 format started, we haven't seen it use moves like Swagger that can very much turn games around. Still has the potential to, as we just saw today.
Alright, so if you're Conan then, I would assume Thundurus is now public enemy number 1. How do you deal with that going into game?
That's a very good question. The Salamence on Conan's side of the field does not help his matchup against Thundurus using flying-type stab moves. Cresselia with Icy Wind is super effective, but it's Icy Wind. It's not a major damaging move. It had Psychic. Again, I mean, it was a pretty offensive Cresselia, we feel. Crobat often a very bulky invested Pokemon, so maybe Cresselia can help chip in against that Thundurus, but I think he's going to rely on either Xerneas or maybe brings Kangaskhan this game.
Yeah, I don't know. What I'm really curious about, actually, is if he'll just, try to do a Hail Mary here, send in the Smeargle, and maybe just hope that, Smeargle saves him. But I would think that he has a better matchup than that, though, and that seems more like a Game 3 kind of play, if we get to Game 3.
I would love it if Conan, of all people, used Smeargle to try and counter a Thundurus. That would be the pinnacle of VGC 2016. Gets an evasion boost turn 1, just shows off exactly what's going on. Now, Hongyu had a great turn 1 with Crobat Thundurus. He used Tailwind Taunt, confirmed that Cresselia is not Mental Herb. He also confirmed that, well, he saw the other 3 Pokemon that Conan brought, all of which have very standard items.
Yeah.
But he did also confirm the Tailwind on the opposing Salamence, something that he can watch out for this next game.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think we'll see Hongyu's Mega Manectric at all this game?
Given that he didn't bring it in game 1, and given how important both that Tailwind was and how good Thundurus was, and then the restricteds, I don't know if Manectric makes the cut. If it does, it would maybe be for Crobat, but I think that the formula he's got right now is going to work better for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just, Mega Manectric is such an interesting Pokemon, because I don't really think we've seen any players bring it to a major tournament yet this year.
It won a regionals. Player Christoph Kaluger, Drug Duck on Nugget Bridge, won European regionals with a Manectric Evil Tal team.
Oh, interesting.
With Kyogre. And yeah, Manectric's a very fun Pokemon. I played a bit with it. But
There it is. Conan brings
we
the
don't see it.
Smeargle this game. We're going to see the same lead from Hongyu. Thundurus, Crobat versus that Salamence and, my friend, the Smeargle. I got to say, I'm surprised, but also kind of delighted to see it on the field right now.
I am as well. I didn't think I was going to be seeing Smeargle this game, but, I guess Conan said, what's the best thing that I can possibly lead against two Pokemon that usually carry Taunt? You know what? Smeargle sounds pretty good.
Well, I mean, we didn't see Cresselia with the Mental Herb. Do you think Smeargle's holding it?
Smeargle Mental Herb has actually picked up popularity as far as I know on Battle Spot, but I don't know if that translates into regionals usage. Conan doesn't have another potential Focus Sash user, so he would have to justify for himself that Mental Herb was worth it on Smeargle for a best of one surprise kind of situation.
But we're going to see Salamence switch out again turn 1, but this time he's sending in the Xerneas, not the Groudon for that slot. Kind of an interesting play. We're going to see Crobat immediately go for the Super Fang into the Smeargle. I think Hongyu just wants to knock it out. Thunderbolt as well. Going to bring... Yep, gets the crit, knocks out that Smeargle. I'm sorry, we're not going to see anything. We don't even know if it was Focus Sash or not.
No, we don't. And that was a very good read by Hongyu.
That was an amazing read by Hongyu.
Yeah, so like I was saying, Conan chose to bring Salamence again, and we saw that Salamence was immediately pressured by Thundurus, a Pokemon it can't really deal much damage to, and also Crobat, which is faster than it. And as a result of that, he had to retreat Salamence. It wasn't going to do that much for him. It was going to give Thundurus free reign to do whatever he wants with the game. So.
But it's interesting, though. You just said that, but here he is switching Salamence back in now.
One Pokemon down.
One Pokemon down, yeah, but you would think that if he had the Groudon in the back, maybe that would have a more favorable matchup here?
It would put him in a difficult position because Groudon would then have to worry about... It can't use Precipice Blade safely because these are two flying targets, but it could also face a Kyogre switch in, which means it can't use a fire-type attack safely. Sorry, this is a special Groudon, so Earth Power or... Eruption. I don't know what its extra move is. It could be a rock move, it could be substitute. Either way, it's not going to be a very effective switch-in. Essentially, I think Conan's adjustment here was to bring the Kangaskhan so that he could pressure this Thundurus. We see Salamence now. We'll see what it does.
Yeah, it Mega Evolved, which means we probably aren't going to see that Kangaskhan in the back. Thundurus going for the taunt into the Salamence slot, actually. Probably afraid of that Tailwind, especially since Crobat just set up its own Tailwind here. Let's see what Conan's going to do. Double Edge from that Salamence into the Crobat. Just misses the KO by 23 HP. And Xerneas uses Dazzling Gleam to pick up that extra damage, get the knockout on Crobat, and do about 40% to that Thundurus.
That's an interesting play. I was just thinking about Hongyu's team. He's got Thundurus with Taunt. Crobat, I said earlier, was a common user of Taunt, but I don't know if you really put it on the same team as another Taunt user. It's possible that it's running a neat tech move like Haze, which is why Hongyu felt so comfortable leading these two Pokemon against Conan's team. And to see Crobat use Tailwind that turn makes me think that it's definitely Haze, because his plan there was, if Xerneas does use Geomancy, I'll still be faster than it, I can Haze it next turn, and I'll be alright.
Yeah, I agree. That makes a lot of sense. And, now that Thundurus has already taunted the Salamence, we know that Conan set up Tailwind. Thundurus is now free to just go ahead and go for the second taunt onto Xerneas if it so chooses. Or he could just start dealing damage, because we probably won't fancy from him.
Yeah, that taunt on Salamence is huge exactly for that reason, that he cannot use Tailwind anymore. That means that Hongyu's Tailwind is going to last for the rest of the game unchallenged, unless Salamence switches out back in. But that also means that Thundurus is free to launch a Thunder Wave into that slot if he so chooses. If Xerneas wants to use Geomancy, I don't know how huge a deal that is. Kyogre's not really safe to Water Spout here with the potential Groudon switch in, but it could if Thundurus switched out. At the same time, Xerneas can use Geomancy, and if that goes unchallenged, then that's a problem for Hongyu. So this is a little dicier than it looks, despite what seems like a really commanding position by Hongyu.
Do you think we'll see the Rayquaza switch in this turn?
It's I mean that's what the Ryoger archetype kind of forces you into is these mind games. We don't. We see Thunderwave into the Xerneas slot.
But yeah, it looks like Hongyu is afraid of, Xerneas trying to go for a Geomancy to maybe possibly get the momentum back on Conan's side of the field. Ice Beam from that Kyogre will pick up the KO on the Salamence, forcing Conan to send in whatever, Pokemon he has in the back, most likely that Groudon. And Moonblast from the Xerneas will pick up the KO onto Thundurus, so it's now down 2-2.
Yeah, that was a very safe, very good play by Hongyu. It's very tempting to get distracted by the potential for switch-ins and switch-outs, but that Salamence was taunted. It could not protect itself from an Ice Beam. Hongyu recognizing, even if Salamence switches out into Groudon, I still get an Ice Beam onto a Groudon. That's great.
Yeah.
So that was a good safe play by Hongyu.
Yeah, and looking at the next couple turns of this game, I think Hongyu's probably in the most favorable position here, because even though he just lost the Weather War, we do have Rayquaza out on the field. We know it has a Focus Sash. Its Airlock will mean Kyogre can still use any moves it has. Tailwind gives it the speed advantage. It almost looks like all Hongyu has to do here is just, wait for Conan to possibly try and stall out the Tailwind and then press the Water Spout button.
Yeah, and I mean, Rayquaza is going to get to Delta Stream too, which will remove any flying type weaknesses if Groudon, say, had a rock move like Stone Edge, something that some Groudon can use to try and clear Thundurus from the field. But,
yeah, but I mean,
think
we are going to see Rayquaza Mega Evolve here, so it's very possible that Hongyu did want to, play the safest he could here, get Delta Stream up. We are going to see Conan protect on the Groudon, not protect on the Xerneas. Dragon Ascent will connect with it and probably do another 50-60% damage like it did last time, barring a critical hit.
Yeah, we'll see. One of the things that this could be is that might be a roll, depending on the Xerneas spread, but we also see it pick up another over 50% there. Kyogre finishes off with a Water Spout.
Yeah, so now it's Groudon versus the world. Things are really not looking good for it. I think this game is safely in Honyu's hands at this point in time.
I'm trying to think of ways that this is not over. It's pretty tough, but I guess if Groudon can double protect, stall out the Tailwind, critical hit Precipice Blades, or hit the run button and forfeit the match, then all of those are potential outcomes. No, we just saw that Hongyu took a very commanding position there and didn't give it up.
Yeah, so Hongyu won this, top 8 round 2-0 against Conan. Very impressive play.